Press K, let it play, boy.
Fading is a low mid drop fade. Go over top of the head, both points to the front. I'm holding on to them. I'm now going to wrap. Once the cape is wrapped around, I can tighten these. I can pull the top of the towel down. This is going to keep our client nice and dry. So follow me over to the shampoo bowl. Before you start the shampoo, you want to make sure you guide their head back to the shampoo bowl so they don't hit their head on the bowl. So I'm focusing most of the shampoo. The focus area is the hairline. My goal is to get this skin right here dry as possible. I'm applying a pretty good amount of shampoo. My water has warmed up. I'm always going to test the water before I apply it to the client. Now as I'm scrubbing his head, I'm not using my fingernails, I'm using the cushions of my fingertips. I'm scrubbing down to the scalp. And again, I just want this hairline to be as clean and dry as possible. I don't want any natural hair oils in the hairline. That's why you'll see us later use Barbasol and a hot towel as well. This is all to get that crispy ash line at the end of your haircuts. So anytime you see an ash line, a haircut is always going to be more detailed and the hairline is always going to be sharper when the hair is clean. Usually the shampoo is a time when there's not a lot of conversation between you and the client because this is their time to relax. Once you're done, you dry it off and then we're going to go blow dry.
Putting all the hair down, making sure everything's flat. I want to brush down the position it's going in. And I want to do that throughout the whole hair. You see it's kind of bulky up top. I'm not really worried about all that. I'm just worried about the areas that I'm going to be fading. So all that right there, and I'm doing that all around the head.
As you can see, my guy's hair is grown out. We're going to be placing our first guideline right here. For a low fade, we'll start the guideline here. For a mid fade, we'll go here. And then for a high fade, we'll go here. So you can use a 3-finger technique where you place your fingers above the ear. A low fade, this, mid fade, middle finger, and a high fade will be all the way up here, up top. So for us, we're going to be doing this mid fade. So that guideline is going to go right here. It's going to drop down. We're going to keep this darkness all the way here to the back, into the curls on the top.
So like Joe was saying, mid fade, I want to keep it about right there. Notice I'm level with the ear. Perfect. And once I get a little past the ear, you know, that's when I start dropping the fade.
I'm always going to look in front of my client. I'm going to match up these guidelines on each side. Now that I see that they're even, I'm going to go ahead and ball this bottom line out.
The thing you want to do is when the client has looking for his hair like him, is you always want to ask him if they're using a shaver, straight razor, or anything like that, just because you don't want them to bump up. With the shave, you could cut so close that what causes the hair to bump up is when it grows back, the hair starts to curl. It causes the bump, causes the hair not to break the skin, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Trying to avoid ingrown hairs. So you ask your client before, every time you use the shaver, ask your client before if they have coarse hair. He said it's good, so we're going to go ahead and ball it out.
I am staying a little underneath that guideline. I'm not going all the way up to the top because I do want some type of transition into that fade. Just even a small transition can be able to tell the difference.
So this is actually a clipper right here. The same way you use your clipper to flick out, we're going to use our shaver the same way.
What I've been doing lately is closing up the guard. Since we did have that so close to zero, my clippers aren't all the way zero gap. I'm gonna break them just a little bit.
Start down with the close.
Slightly. And then make it small little increments going up and down, flicking out. I don't want to make any hard lines. And I am pressing soft on the skin. I'm not pressing hard. The harder you push down on the skin, the harder it's going to be out to get a guideline. So that's one major key. Like I said, you want to keep this haircut uniform. You want to keep it everything as neat as possible. It's just going to make your fade come out neat and clean at the end of the day polished. So what I'm doing again, breaking it just a little bit, opening it up, and I kind of want to match my next line. So what I like to do is look at the hair. It's like, okay, well that's the length that I want. That next guideline, that's that blend I want. So I'm going up again, and you can see that fade coming into life. This part is the most important part of the fade because you're starting out the foundation of the whole fade. What I like to do is grab my 0.5 guard, and what I like to call this is my detail guard. Detail guard, all I'm doing is breaking it just a little bit. Maybe I want it about halfway because I want to match up the length of the hair. Like I said, I'm flicking it out. All soft pressure, I'm not putting hard pressure or anything like that. I don't want to create more work for myself. Constantly brushing down. As you can see, this fade's coming to life. It's already popping. I mean, it's not even quarter of the way done. I'm constantly brushing down with coarse hair because hair texture moves when you are fading into it. You want to keep everything brushed down and as even as possible. Keep it uniform. That's the major key, is uniformity. On one guard, like I said, light pressure everywhere. I'm getting the hairs that stand up. That's really all I'm focused on right now. Not necessarily worried about making another guideline, but just grabbing those hairs that are poking up.
We're gonna go lever open. Constantly combing through the hair, making sure it's all laying down in the same direction that I'm cutting it. And I'm listening for the hair to be cut. If the hair isn't being cut, I adjust the lever. The technique I like to use with coarse hair is by combing the hair and then going with the grain. It's a good technique to fade the hair, to get the hair to lay down on coarse hair. So now I'm slowly closing my blade, coming on top of the hair with the grain and laying it down. Now we're going to close the lever on our one guard. I'm flicking up once I hear that crunch. A lot of times we'll see barbers tell you that it's time to detail the fade, and we don't know what they mean when they say detail. What we're really doing is we're listening to the hair. Once we notice that it's being cut, we move our lever. And that's our detail work. Sometimes it looks like they're not doing anything, like they're just flicking out, but it's all for a purpose. Every hair matters.
Another technique I like to use is called raking. And what I do is I open this guard up. See these little hairs right here that are kind of poking up, a little dark area. All that is going to do is going to pull that down and smoothing it out without making a major guideline. One other little tip or trick I like to do when I'm using that 0.5 guard is open that all the way up, and instead of just trying to create another guideline or flick out motion, I tilt it and I'm getting those hairs out. What that does is I'm getting the hairs that are sticking up without even having to flick into that dark area, trying to create another guideline. Hairs like that, I would want to split it without even trying to get too much into the hairline or too much into that darker area. So what I do is a corner cut. Use the corner of the blade and I'm splitting that darker area, splitting that patch and breaking it up. All I'm doing for my finishing touch-ups, grab my detailers. And if I need to, you don't always have to. because these are considered my soft trimmers. I keep a pair of soft trimmers and some hard hitters. So my soft trimmers, we should make my first initial guideline with. Hard trimmers, those are usually what I line up with. So considering that first guideline with my hard trimmer, soft trimmer, I want to take that out. There's really not much. You could either flick out or turn it over. Almost scratch at the guideline. And you can see I'm kind of corner cutting also, getting rid of that. And it's gone. So what I'm doing now, it does have some little long hairs up top. What I want to do is kind of taper that thing down. So I start off with a higher guard, too close. All I'm doing is flicking that out. Not putting too much pressure on it. Just enough to get those little hairs. You see the little hair flicking out, they're popping out. And this is all to make that hairline sharper, make it pop out more. I'm gonna keep brushing that thing down. Now since he does have some smaller hairs that I didn't catch, all I'm doing is slapping that number 1 guard on. Doing the exact same thing but not going as high. That's it. Cold and spray it enhance. Spray the hairline, keep it in place while I'm lining it up. And we're good. I'm gonna let that dry. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let that dry. And I'm gonna get started on his beard. So with the beard, I wanna keep this full. I wanna fade to about his earlobe. So all this, I'm kind of catching that. Fading that all the way up to a half. Open up my guard. Being real light with it, not putting too much pressure on there. And all I'm doing is reverse fading. This is about the length that I want to keep on the fade. That's the transition that I want to stay. Run on my detail guard, open it all the way up. And fading in small increments. Always brushing that hair down. Not putting too much pressure. Turning it over using my rake technique. Now back to my 1 guard. What I'm gonna do is hit that little transition right here. Open my blade all the way up. Get those hairs that are longer, a little longer. You can see those falling off, and it's only a few. Give it an extra pop. I'm gonna grab my detailers. And I'm just gonna bald that little small area.
I'll let my client know that I'm going to be leaning him back. I'll grab both sides of his head, let him lean back so he knows he has a headrest. I'm going to touch his shoulder, let him know, okay, we're going back. Boom. I want to apply a pretty good amount of Barbasol. You can get this anywhere. And I'm going to apply this. Anything that's going to be lined up is going to receive some Barbasol. So what we're doing here is we're applying it to any hairs that are lined up on the beard or the hairline. And this is how you get those ash lines that you see on the haircuts. Want to get the skin as dry as possible. Maybe give him a little extra drop of some essential oils.
Why do we do that?
We do that because that adds to the experience. You know, when you experience something like that, it's rare. It's going to become rare. We're going to let this hot towel soak in. Once I wipe the top, I take the part of the hot towel that was not covered in Barbasol. And I'm going to fold my towel up. I'm just going to continue to clean off his face. And now I'm going to lean him up, give him a tap on the shoulder. We got our blow dryer. It's on low heat. We're going to apply alcohol. Make sure that the skin is clean before we line it up. Now we're going to take another neck strip.
so for when I line up, I like to use my, either one. Like I said earlier, I have a pair of soft trimmers and I have a pair of hard trimmers. So these are considered my hard trimmers here. Very close to zero gap. And why I like to use the bevels because the blade's very long. And I mean, it cuts hella hair compared to the smaller blade. So Jay Fader already kept the Sprits on them. And what I usually do is I always look at which side of the lineup is higher than the other. So naturally, this side's a little higher. Yeah, I want to keep everything symmetrical, and I want to keep it as normal as possible. I don't want to take too much hair off. I'm touching up that light spot first. So one thing I did learn the hard way lining up somebody was when I kept my head up on here, what I tend to do naturally was kind of just raise the hairline up. I don't want to do that. One time I did that, I had to do a lot of adjustments. So you can tell I'm raising it up, lining it up right here. It goes back to normal. So if I were to do that to this corner, it kind of do the same thing.
Stretching the skin?
I don't want to stretch the skin or anything like that. I want to just keep everything as normal as possible. Only time you want to stretch the skin is when you're fading. You want to double check your work or get into tighter areas. For instance, if I were to stretch the skin right here, I'm getting in a lot of tighter areas. So
it's like zooming in.
Here we go. I'm stretching the skin. Now I want to get into that little tight corner and blend that out a little bit more. Only time I want to stretch the skin.
I already combed out his hair. He did have his hair curled before he came in. We washed his hair, cleaned it, did the fade. We prepared his lineup. Julio's lining him up. I picked the hair back out. It's all dry. Now I can sculpt the hair because dry hair tells you the truth. Wet hair is controllable. So with the hair being dry, now I can make a sculpture out of it, and then we're going to show you how to style the hair and curl it. Most barbers will neglect that step of picking the hair out first. So that way when the client goes home, if they pick their hair out, they're going to be like, hey, what's going on? Why is it not even? Because the barber doesn't do it. So all I did was just cut all the stragglers that are hanging out. We want to keep it silhouette. So when I say silhouette, that means if we cast a light, we create a shadow, and with that shadow, we want it to be perfect shape on both sides, nice and even, so we can use our mirror to create that.
All I'm kind of just doing is just shaping that hairline. So this is corner cutting right here. I'm kind of doing just leaving that little dark spot. So what I'm trying to do is when I usually line up the corners, I always match with the corner of the eyebrows. So matching it up here, matching it up here. Same thing when I'm fading the side of the beard. Like I said, I want to fade to about the earlobe. Not doing anything crazy. Grab my detail guard. What I did on the other side. Use that rake motion. And it's eliminating a lot of the hairs that are sticking up. So I don't have to do as much work. I'm in the direction that it's growing, that it naturally wants to flow. From here, like I said, I'm combing in the direction that the hair wants to naturally flow. If I were to comb up, you can see it doesn't want to go that way. Comb sideways, doesn't want to go that way either. Naturally, it wants to lay down flat. So I'm going straight down. And what I'm doing is lining him up based on his head structure. If I line him up down here, I mean, you can tell it was already lined up here. That's naturally where, I mean, his beard naturally would fit and look good. Ultimately, what you're doing, you want to make the client look as best as they can. You want to let them leave the chair feeling like a celebrity. They're trusting you to make the help. Just help them feel good, you know what I'm saying? Give them that, cut that personality. Sideburn down, just so I can make that beard line symmetrical. And I'm always paying attention to the eyes and the cheekbones. So when I do line somebody up, I notice that I don't want to go too in or too far out. I always want to make it like symmetrical with the eye and the cheekbone. So pulling the skin.
And again, you're just using the bottom part of the blade.
Bottom part of the blade. What I'm doing is I'm gliding against the skin. I'm not putting too much pressure. I'm letting the blade do all the work.
Pressure will cause irritation.
Pressure could cause irritation. It could cause them to just cut up and leave them scab. You could leave them red for a couple days. And you want to be light with straight razors just because you don't know anybody's skin. At the same time, you don't want to cut nobody or leave them with razor burn. This beard a little high. Match it up with the mustache. Raise this up just a little bit. So I like to go all the way to like usually to the mustache, because that's how I know I'm even on the other side. So if on that side, I'm even.
Symmetry.
Going all the way to that mustache, because I know I stopped around right here. I know I just pay attention to the mustache every time I'm lining somebody up.
I like to use the scissors a lot because it gives the client that luxury feeling. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply some Tropical Roots Twist Cream. A dime size amount. Distribute it evenly through your hand so you don't get a big glob in his hair. Then we're gonna massage it in. Distribute it evenly through his hair as well. Now I'm going to add the curl. So I'm gonna make sure I do the same exact motion all throughout his hair. I don't wanna switch motions. I wanna be consistent with it. And it does take a little longer with this, but I can clean this. This can be easily disinfected compared to the curl sponge itself. When I go client to client with that, I'm gonna just bring the same everything from that client's hair to the next client, and that's not what I wanna do. So I can clean this in between clients a lot easier.
Exact same result.
Yeah, this just takes us a little longer. But the state board won't throw these out, it won't fine you for them or anything like that.
So what we're gonna use is the enhanced brown, so that his hair color is brown. We're also gonna use enhanced brown. And what this is gonna do is give your client an extra pop. It's gonna make him feel $100. You want your client to feel just red carpet, like he just got a red carpet service treatment. And this is the feeling. You're selling a feeling in a chair. When somebody's in your chair, it's the feeling that you're selling. It's the experience that you're gonna give your client. So I'm gonna pass this on to my boy Jay Faded.
Even when I'm applying the spritz, I'm still gonna use the card because I want less mess on the forehead. And now we're gonna apply light pumps. With the fibers, less is more. So the goal is to keep it natural, but still have it pop. And you only have a certain amount of time before that spritz will dry, and then the fibers will no longer stick to it. So you do want to be pretty quick with this. Next step is to line it up. So we're going to give the same exact hairline a relining, and we're actually lining up the fibers. There you have it, a mid-drop fade with curls, enhance on the lineup, razor on the beard, by your boy Jay Faded and Jay Moore. Success. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.